Hello, welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about a tile laying exploration, maybe hidden traitor game. We're going to be talking about Betrayal at House on the Hill 3rd edition, and in this game you will be exploring a house, picking up items, rolling dice, waiting for the haunt to occur, where somebody may or may not be a traitor that will try and prevent you from winning the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules, telling you what we do like, what we don't like. Then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Betrayal at House on the Hill is worth your time of bother today and in the future. So remember, if you are new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit, and we'll see you after this. Bollocks. So, Betrayal at House on the Hill. How'd you play this game? So Betrayal at House on the Hill is a much beloved tile laying traitor game, yeah? This is the 3rd edition of this game, and there's been other iterations of it. You've had Betrayal Legacy, a Baldur's Gate style implementation, and also a Scooby-Doo version of this, right? So each player is going to take on the role of one of the investigators, right? You're going to get a player board, and they're double-sided, so you can choose which character you want to be, and each of these characters has 4 different traits, split into 2 categories. You've got the physical traits of might and speed, and then you've got the mental traits of knowledge and sanity, right? So you're going to place the main hallway and the upper landing and the basement landing tiles on a table, and the character whose birthday is next will be the player to go first, right? On your turn, you can move. You'll look at your speed value and you can move that many adjacent tiles, right? If there's an obstacle such as an obstacle tile or an opponent's player or monster, then that will cost you an extra point to move out of that tile, right? So you can choose to walk through a door and discover a new area. When you do this, you'll draw a tile that corresponds to the floor you're in. So if you're on the ground floor, you'll look for a ground floor tile, then you'll orient the tile in the desired direction so that 2 doors face each other, and then you'll place a tile down, right, and you'll move onto it. If you do this, you resolve any text that says when you discover this tile or when you move onto this tile, and if there's a symbol on the tile, then you'll draw the appropriate card and you'll resolve it. You've got 3 types of cards. You've got event cards, you've got item cards, and you've got omen cards. Event cards will usually ask you to make a trait check. When you do this, you'll roll as many dice as the trait it's asking you to check, and there will generally be like a little table thing saying if you roll like 1 to 2, 3 to 4, you roll the dice and then you'll do what it says on the card, right? Item cards are generally useful things like weapons that you can use when the haunt starts, right? And omen cards are directly related to the haunts, right? When you draw an omen card, you'll check the amount of omen cards that are in play and you roll that many dice, and if you get 5 or more, then the haunt will start. As part of setup, you will choose one of the 5 scenario cards, right? And if the haunt starts, you'll look at the omen card that started the haunt, you'll flip the scenario card over, and it will tell you which haunt you are going to play and who is going to be the traitor, if indeed there is one, right? When the haunt starts, the traitor will take the traitor's tome, and the investigators, who are now called the heroes, will take the other book. You'll look at the number of the haunt, and then you'll both read the introduction boxes, and then the traitor will leave the room. They'll read their part of what they got to do in the haunt, and the heroes will do the same, right? The traitor will come back into the room, and then you'll start the haunt. So the rules for the haunts are all different. There's 50 haunts in this game. Usually it takes the form of the traitor having a bunch of monsters they can move around the house, and you can now attack both monsters and each other if you really want to. The way this works is you'll do a might trait check, and the player that rolls the highest will win the combat, and you'll do damage equal to the difference between both rolls, yeah? So you'll keep doing this. You'll keep wandering around the house waiting for the haunt to occur, and then once it does, if the heroes complete their objective, they win, and if the traitor completes their objective, then they will win. The game of Betrayal at House on the Hill 3rd edition. So what do we like about Betrayal at House on the Hill 3rd edition? So the first thing that we like about this is that the haunt rules are much more streamlined than previous versions, right? We didn't play the 1st edition of this, but we have played the 2nd edition quite extensively. And in that version, there was like a haunt matrix. You had to cross-reference all this bullshit, and it was a little bit weird, right? This is really simple. You're going to choose one of the 5 scenario cards at the beginning, and when you trigger the haunt, you're just going to look at the omen card that you drew when you triggered it, and that will tell you exactly what you got to do. And this game was famed for having a lot of broken haunts. In the second edition, we did actually have to re-download a fan edit of both the Traitor's Times and the Hero's Book and all that, which fixed a lot of the busted haunts, yeah. And as yet, we haven't seen any haunts that are intrinsically busted in this game, right? So that's a bit of a bonus as well, yeah. So the second thing we like about Betrayal at House O'Neill 3rd edition is that we still love exploring this house. It never gets old, right? We've been playing this for over 10 years. I think it's about that long. And whilst we don't play this all the time, yeah, it's still nice cracking this open, wandering around the house, picking up items, waiting for one of your mates to become an evil bastard. And the fact, like we said, you've got 50 haunts, which means that you could play this a minimum of 50 times and not see the same thing. Means it is shockingly good value for money, right? So yeah, it's still retained that sort of weird, sort of magical attraction. And I'm not quite sure why, to be honest with you. So the final thing that we like about this is that it is still a unique game. And there's really nothing else quite like it, is there? There's loads and loads and loads of tile laying games floating about. It's very few of them are this easy to get into, right? It's just a really easy game to play. You don't even have to really explain the rules, right? As long as one person knows how to play it, you can explain it as you go along. And I suppose most people just pull this out at Halloween, don't they? And Hasbro have released a Christmas expansion. It's called like something to do with Jingle Claws or something, which gives you another 5 different haunts, yeah, and a couple of extra characters. So not only can you play this at Halloween, which most of you boring traditional fuckers do, you can now play this at Christmas and entertain your natural atheist tendencies. So what don't we like about Betrayal at House on the Hill 3rd edition? So the first thing that we don't like about this is that some of the rules are still really, really unclear, right? And I suppose, truth be told, if you've got a game with all of these different permutations, or all these different cards, all these different tiles trying to come together in a cohesive manner, it's going to be very, very difficult to eliminate all of the ambiguity, right? But we still find ourselves asking questions. What does this mean? Like the game we played the other day, the haunt said if you are on a space with an event icon, then you can roll a dice and call off a party, right? Well, does that mean if you move through it, if you end your turn on it, if you're moving just onto it and attacking and then moving off? Well, can you even do that? Can you move and attack and then attack move? I don't know. The rules are really, really thin, right? So I suppose it's a trade-off between accessibility and a very, very short rule set and the game's ability to cover every single different outcome in the game, right? So it's still frustrating, not as frustrating as the second edition, but those niggles are still there. So the second thing that we don't like about Betrayal House on Hill is that the component quality is definitely a step down from the previous version, right? The tiles in this edition are a little bit thinner, the artwork isn't as nice, and you haven't got those wonderful painted miniatures that you did have in the second edition, right? These are just unpainted grey things, and that is a real downer. If you add to that compared to the second edition, the writing on this is a little less detailed. They haven't worked hard enough on the text descriptions of what's happening, so it doesn't really evoke that sort of horror theme as well as the second edition, right? In terms of component quality and atmosphere, this isn't as good as the second edition, right? And that's a bit of a bummer. So the final thing that we don't like about Betrayal at House on the Hill is that player elimination is still a massive problem in this game, yeah? You think after, I don't know, was it 6 different editions, they would have fixed this, but a lot of the haunts means that if you die, that is it, you are done, and you could be sitting there for like about half an hour or maybe even 45 minutes doing absolutely fuck all, right? And where this game is dependent on the luck of the dice, okay, you've got a little bit of mitigation because the haunt isn't going to happen for the first 2 rounds, so you have got a little bit of time to get at least a couple of bits of equipment if you're lucky. But having said that, player elimination sucks, yeah? And if it happens to you, like it did to me the other day, and another 3 people, then you've got no choice but to either leave or suck it up. So, is Betrayal at House on the Hill still worth your time and bother, even though this is the 100th billionth edition of this game? So we're going to say maybe, maybe not. It's utterly amazing that after more than 6 iterations of this, they still haven't managed to iron out all of the creases, yeah? There's still rules, ambiguities, confusion, and more importantly, player elimination. However, this is such a lightweight game that once again, in the right circumstances, Betrayal offers a unique yet dumb experience that is, bizarrely enough, still unrivaled today. So there you go, that is Betrayal at House on the Hill 3rd edition. Remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel with the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you next Tuesday.